The moment this teen starts talking, you can feel the exhaustion in his voice. He's not rambling, he's unraveling, trying to explain years' worth of chaos in just a few sentences, and he sounds like someone who's been carrying the weight alone for a long time. Here, the officers still think they're dealing with a simple family dispute, but they have no idea they're listening to the beginning of a much darker pattern. Every detail he shares feels like a red flag that's been ignored for years.
Midst of telling police that he's being abused by his mother, 17-year-old Colin Griffith spent years in the center of a violent and turbulent relationship with both of his parents. Tragically, that violence had already led Colin to shooting his own father in what he claimed was self-defense. And what these officers don't yet realize is that history is about to repeat itself.
What caused the bleeding? She got real tight and she was giving me the knife and she fell on it.
And this is when things shift. The officers hear about blood, violence, and contradictions. You can see it in their body language. They're trying to figure out whether this teen is terrified or hiding something.
But nothing in this case is what it seems. In the investigation that follows, police find themselves entangled in a web of new questions surrounding Colin's father's death, inconsistencies in his story, and chilling evidence suggesting that his mother's death was anything but accidental.
The mother confronting him with this question, "Did you say you were going to kill me?" sets the stage for how unstable this family dynamic had become. Nobody trusts anyone, and that level of fear inside one home rarely ends peacefully.
Did you tell them at the jail that you were going to kill me? Did you say you were going to hurt me?
She thinks that I'm like psychotic, like literally psychopath, sociopath, something like that.
After his parents' messy divorce in 2019, Colin Griffith alternately lived with his father in Stroud, Oklahoma, and his mother in Port Charlotte, Florida. Colin's relationships with his parents were so troubled and contentious that he developed a number of serious emotional problems, including PTSD. Over the years, he repeatedly told authorities that something bad would happen if he wasn't removed from his parents' homes. Sadly, nobody knew just how prophetic his warnings were, or that he would eventually take matters into his own hands, not once, but twice. Colin's early years are a bit of a mystery, but he, his brother Christopher, and his parents Catherine and Charles Robert apparently led comfortable middle-class lives in scenic Port Charlotte, Florida, about 95 miles or 153 kilometers south of Tampa. By some accounts, Colin was downright spoiled. After all, he had his own Xbox and smartphone, and he went with his family on a number of pricey cruises over the years. Whatever the case, the Griffiths had a lot of good times together, but like all families, they had their fair share of problems as well. Colin once watched police officers take his mother away in handcuffs after she assaulted his father with a knife. On another occasion, his mother pinned her terrified husband against the garage wall with her car. Sadly, the tension in the Griffith home got even worse after these two harrowing incidents. Then, in 2019, Colin's parents told him and his brother that they were going to get a divorce. When Colin was just 11 years old, he and his father moved 1,370 miles or 2,200 kilometers away to Stroud, Oklahoma, while his brother stayed in Port Charlotte with his mother. Colin spoke to his mother regularly and saw her and his brother a few times a year, but life with his father in rural Oklahoma was far from ideal. He didn't have many friends and eventually fell behind in school. As time passed, his father would become an eccentric recluse who avoided contact with the outside world as much as he could. Colin spent most of his time doing whatever he could to distract himself from the crushing isolation and from his dysfunctional relationship with his father. Colin and Charles Robert avoided one another whenever they could, but when their paths crossed, they often got into heated arguments, and sometimes the arguments turned into physical altercations. The tension between Colin and his father had reached an all-time.
By this point, years of tension have built up like a pressure cooker. Colin's relationship with both parents was fractured far beyond typical teenage conflict. This is where you start to see how tragedy doesn't happen suddenly, it builds quietly until something breaks.
time high by the spring of 2023. It's unclear what transpired in the home that they shared in Stroud, Oklahoma on Valentine's Day of 2023, but most people were spending their time with their loved ones or significant others. 15-year-old Colin and his father got into an argument that morphed into a violent fight at approximately 12:30 in the afternoon. Less than a half an hour later, Colin called 911 and told
The officers walk into a scene that already feels wrong. A teen claiming self-defense, a father dead, and 2 gunshot wounds, including one to the forehead. That's not a typical spur-of-the-moment act yet. Nobody can prove what really happened.
the operator that his father was dead. When officers arrived shortly thereafter, they found Charles Robert Griffith lying in the bedroom floor in a pool of blood with a gunshot wound to his chest and another to his forehead. Colin told the officers that they were arguing and that his father cornered him in the bedroom with a knife. He found a gun and shot him in self-defense. They weren't sure if he was telling the truth, but he refused to say anything else until they took him to the police station for questioning later that afternoon. The state eventually charged him with first-degree murder, but the charges were dropped a month later because prosecutors could not prove that he was lying. Colin moved back to Port Charlotte, Florida to live with his mother shortly after the state dropped the murder charges. She was apparently thrilled to have him back in her life, and after what happened in Oklahoma, they both hoped the move would do him a world of good. But by then, Catherine was suffering from severe depression. According to her mother, she was even at times, and as is often the case, she used pills and alcohol to dull the pain. Having another child in the house was an additional stressor that Catherine couldn't deal with, and as such, she and Colin regularly butted heads. Unfortunately, Colin's relationship with his mother wasn't that much different than the one he had with his father. They consistently argued about his grades, his bad attitude, and his unwillingness to do chores. And sometimes things got physical. Even so, Catherine was determined to get her son the help he needed. It wasn't easy, but she finally found an experienced and sympathetic psychiatrist who quickly diagnosed him with PTSD. This was a huge step in the right direction. Because of the bona fide diagnosis, Colin could finally start getting the counseling that he so desperately needed. Nonetheless, his relationship with his mother got progressively worse with each passing month. Police officers and caseworkers from the Department of Children and Families responded to incidents at the home on multiple occasions. Each time, Colin would tell first responders that his mother was violent and unpredictable, that she assaulted him, and that he was afraid of her. Colin was Baker-acted and taken into custody for evaluation on more than one occasion. The Florida Mental Health Act of 1971, or the Baker Act, gives the authorities and child welfare agencies the power to remove children from homes if they are in physical danger, experiencing a mental crisis, or if they pose a danger to themselves, their family, or the public. He told investigators and caseworkers that he was constantly in a state of fight or flight because his mother was violent and unpredictable. It's also worth pointing out that Colin asked officers and caseworkers to remove him from the home permanently on multiple occasions. During one evaluation, he said something bad would happen if he was sent back to live with his mother. But surprisingly, he was released back into her custody shortly thereafter. Even so, Colin kept his nose to the grindstone, graduated from high school early, and enrolled in Florida Southwestern State College, where he quickly earned 18 credits. However, a concerned school official called the authorities when he claimed,
Here's where everything starts spiraling. Again, another accusation, another denial, another moment where the truth gets buried under fear and conflicting stories.
That his mother had pulled a gun on him during a particularly contentious argument. Catherine denied the allegations. She even claimed that Colin was the violent and unpredictable one, and that he was a chronic liar, and that he had made the whole thing up because she took his AirPods away when she found out he was failing in 2 of his classes. Colin and Catherine's tense and contentious relationship finally boiled over in the fall of 2023. Just before 9 p.m. on the night of November 13th, 17-year-old Colin and his mother got into yet another altercation. Catherine's mother, Susan Detman, was there at the time, and she called 911 when things got out of hand.
I got off the phone with Rentis, we sat down and we ate, and she started talking to me about how a bunch of really bad shit. And then when I got up and was like, you can't just do that, and she was telling me to shut up, she hit me in the face, and then I reacted like this. She grabbed onto me, I hit her in the stomach, and then I'm a wrestler. It was just reactive. Grabbed her. She got to the ground. I grabbed the phone. I started recording and then I left. Okay, that's it.
So she hit you in the face?
Yeah.
But we've been through this. You called for instance because you know you kind of messed up, right?
No, it's because I didn't know who else to call, and I knew that, and I wanted to make sure he knew first off.
Okay.
Catherine A. Griffith, right? And then 9485?
Yes.
Okay. So I heard EMS is coming to check out your hand. Okay.
And
Let me.
right here, because he kicked me.
Okay. Hey, can I see your hand? Okay.
He kicked the phone out of my hand as I was trying to record it. I was on the ground. It hurts. I mean, you can see how swollen my knuckles are. It's
Okay.
He literally, like, stomped on my hand to get the phone out of my hand.
Let me see the inside of your hand. All right, do you have any pain to your wrist at all? Or is it just right here in the top of your hand?
No, it's
all
from,
of this?
Yeah, from here till about here.
Okay, when did that happen?
When he attacked me.
Was that like a couple minutes ago, an hour ago?
Like in the past 20, 30 minutes. And then he kicked me here. I have like some redness.
We talked all the way down, and I said, you have got to learn to get your anger under control. You want to be a Marine. People are going to get it. I'm retired from the service. I said,
So am I.
Very good. So I said, people are going to get in your face, and you're going to have to learn to deal with that. You just ignore it.
Right.
And I said, the other thing, too, is you don't ever hit anybody. You don't even touch somebody. And especially somebody as small as Kathy. That is just something that you cannot ever do. I said, that needs to be. He goes, no, but I said, there are no buts. So we got here.
The grandmother's perspective shows how severe the situation had become. 2 phones recording, shouting, confusion, this. Wasn't just a single argument. This was a breaking point.
And Princess had agreed. She's going to lay the law down. You know, that she is the parent. She is doing what she thinks is best for him. That he's not going to have his cellular phone. He's not going to have access, because he's like talking to some person on the online that we don't even know who this person is.
Okay.
And that she said, I don't want you ever calling me a psychopathic narcissist anymore. I said, and he goes, no, I didn't. He goes, no, I heard you say that. So,
Okay.
And he just, you know, he had said that in the past. And she said, let me lay this out for you, because the only thing I think you really care about is money. So anytime there's an infraction, I'm going to take that from you. And it'll add up. So you have got to fly right, because otherwise, if not, and then he was doing something with his eyes. I think he wanted the phone, and that's all he was concerned about, was getting
His phone back.
His phone.
So was he upset about getting his phone back, or upset about not going on the cruise and going to get evaluated?
I think both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah.
And was she trying to record him with his own phone, or
Two phones were involved.
there was 2 phones?
So it was his and hers? Okay.
So she, just to kind of clarify, he's like, let's just do it. Got her phone to start recording. You said next thing you know, they're on the ground. Did you see how they got on the ground?
No.
Okay.
No. I just, because I was trying to call also.
Okay.
So, but I was very worried she was on the ground, and I went in between them.
Officers arrested Colin for domestic violence after Miss Detman corroborated Catherine's story.
Got to get your anger under control, okay? I'm saying prayers for you all the time, Colin. I love you.
Mama, I think my anger's fine. It's just that when someone attacks me, I don't know.
What?
How is your anger fine? That moment hits differently because everyone around him is seeing danger, even if he isn't. This is the type of disconnect officers dread dealing with when...
I can't hear you. What?
No.
Do you think your anger's fine?
Yes, it's just when someone attacks me, that's how I act.
That didn't happen, though. I was there. I saw it. I saw you stand up. And I said, sit down, and you wouldn't. And you went after the phone. And the next thing I know, she's on the floor. And I'm trying to get in between Raw, and I'm trying to call Rennis.
No. She hit me. She grabbed onto me. I beat her, and then I got her to the ground in a wrestling move, and then I ran.
I didn't see that, Colin. I really didn't. All I I saw was you on the ground, or her on the ground, and you by her, and you guys fighting for the phone. So how did she get on the ground?
It's because I moved her on the ground. I rested her on the ground when she got on me.
Why did you stand up? And why did you say?
So we're just trying to have a face-to-face conversation.
No, you didn't. You stood up and said, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Yes, you did. I was there.
I was saying, Mom, I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer. I'm just trying to peacefully leave or peacefully coexist and just figure something out. And she kept telling me to shut up and shut up. And when I wouldn't shut up, she hit me.
No, that's not what happened, Colin. That's not what happened. You never said you wanted to peacefully coexist.
I've been saying that.
You said that in the car, but not there with her.
Colin was released later that night, but officers came back to talk to him the following day, a few hours before he was scheduled to appear in court.
Colin, right? Yes, sir. So what's going on, man? Last night, me and my mom went to a physical altercation. I got arrested for domestic battery, but going in front of a judge today, I have a right to a public defender, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So how is the situation with you and mom right now?
Have
things calmed down? Are you guys able to get along? Where are we at?
No, sir. It's not good. She thinks that I beat the shit out of her. I don't. She thinks that I'm like psychotic, like literally psychopath, sociopath, something like that. I don't know exactly where she's at. She thinks I'm going to kill her. I want to kill her. Or that I want to beat the shit out of her.
Do you?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anyone, let alone my mom, even despite this happening. But I'm not going to take what I consider abuse when someone's attacking me. And
how is she attacking you?
When he starts describing the night his father died, everything becomes chillingly calm. Not defensive, not emotional, just matter of fact. Sometimes that tone is more unsettling than panic.
When she attacked me, when she threw a punch at me and grabbed on me, I grabbed onto her back. I got her off of me, she hit the ground, and then I fled and called Rentis, and then he sent someone out.
You called who?
Rentis, Detective Rentis.
Okay.
Did you make any statements saying that you were going to kill your mom if you got in the car with her?
No, sir.
I'm trying to figure out why we would have a corporal at the jail that took you out, that dropped you off your mom and telling us that you said, don't put me in the car with her, I'm going to kill her.
Yeah,
was that said?
I did not say I was going to kill her. I did not say kill. I don't know why he sent me back here. I asked him not to, but he said he didn't like my attitude and that I had to just walk by. And he sent me back here. But his words, not mine.
Okay. Well, we're just trying to figure out. We just want to make sure we do everything we can to prevent anything happening.
Sir, given the situation, I don't think that we should be in the same house at all. I don't think it's okay. I mean, we're going to court anyways with one. God knows what's going to happen then.
How are you getting to court?
By car.
You drive? How old are you?
Yeah, but I have to have an adult in the car with me.
You got a learner's permit?
Yeah. She's been trying to lure a confession out of me all day. It's not, sorry, not all day, but...
What does this all start over? Has this been ongoing forever, or is this all of a sudden happened last night?
For a long time. So I came to live with her after my dad died, and since then, there's just been kind of times when things boil over with her, and she acts out. One time she pulled a gun on me. I called the cops. I guess I wouldn't believe.
Well, what got her to the point that she's doing these things?
I don't know.
You have no idea. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, she pulls a gun or hit you?
It's because that I'm driving her crazy somehow with the way that I act, and I don't know how I'm acting badly. She talks about school a lot. My grades are fine. I got a 3.7 GPA.
I mean, obviously you're not, you're a smart enough kid. I get that or whatever, but I mean, obviously it takes two to create this type of environment in this situation, right? And I've heard nothing. You haven't said a word about what's going on, what you're doing, or what is going on to provoke this, or where it's coming from, other than out of the blue, your mom flies off the handle and does this stuff. I'm struggling with that a little bit.
She claims that because I don't like help around the house, don't seem to follow rules. A big thing for her is that I don't make a schedule. Like I don't schedule my day. She has ADHD and a lot of other stuff. She was really abused by my dad, from what I know, and that kind of just made...
7 months between his father's death and the growing conflict with his mother. It's a short window for trauma, anger, and instability to collide again.
To where she has these very specific things that set her off, these triggers.
So how long ago was your dad passed? Sorry to hear that.
7 months. 7 months.
7 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
He attacked me, my dad, and when he did, he tried to kill me with a knife, and it was in Oklahoma, and he died. So,
okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
I shot him when he tried to kill me.
Did you already have a gun in your hand? Or did you go
I
get
was
one?
fleeing, and the house was filled with guns, 23 to be exact, and...
you knew who they were?
I didn't seek one out, I was just trying to run, but when I was cornered and I had nothing else, there was a gun, and just kind of what happened.
Why was he trying to kill you?
He's also a bit of a case, but homophobia. If you can believe that, and a bit of other stuff.
Oh, well.
Colin only got probation for the offense, but as a minor with nowhere else to go, he was sent right back to his mother's house after the incident. On Friday, September the 6th of 2024, Colin drove his black Volkswagen Jetta to his grandmother's home at 77 Hewlett Drive in Auburndale, Florida, about 90 miles or 145 kilometers to the north. She was in the Florida Keys at the time and had not given him permission to stay at her place. Colin also violated his parole by leaving Charlotte County. By then, his mother, Catherine, was at her wit's end. The next morning, she had a contentious conversation with her mother.
This phone call between mother and grandmother is heartbreaking. You can hear the desperation, like she knows she's losing control of the situation, and maybe losing.
You told me you were going to get your neighbor over there, or I was sending the police. Do you want the police to go? So you would rather have the police drive. Okay, that's fine. I will not take a call from you after this ever again. If Colin's not here by 10 o'clock, I'm dead to you. Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Yes or no? I need a yes or no. Yes or no? Do you understand me? Okay. You don't understand me.
Shortly thereafter, she exchanged these text messages with one of her neighbors. Hey, please do not let Colin or
her son in the process. The texts tell a story the body cam never could. A mother who's exhausted, a teen who won't come home, neighbors being pulled into their chaos. You start to realize everyone around them sensed something terrible was coming.
Police into my home. I'm not opening the door. Colin just hates me, and honestly, I'm tired of this crap. Where are you, and how am I going to stop him? Don't give him the keys. I'm home in my room. I'm meeting his probation officer Monday morning if he doesn't come home today by 10 a.m. He knows the time deadline, and he's choosing to skip it and hide at my mom's house in Polk County, which is also a violation. He won't listen. I'm going to drive to get him, and if he doesn't get in the car, then Polk County can deal with him. On the afternoon of Sunday, September the 8th, Catherine drove her white Volkswagen Jetta to her mother's home in Auburndale to take Colin back to Charlotte County once and for all. He initially came to the door and walked out onto the carport when he heard her pull into the driveway at approximately 4:50 p.m. For some reason, Catherine backed out of the driveway a few seconds later and parked her car on the street. At this time, Miss Detman's friend and neighbor, Nancy.
And now, the moment that changes everything. Catherine storms toward the house, tension crackling in the air. This wasn't just another argument. This was the fuse being lit.
Thought Catherine was arguing with someone, but she couldn't make out who it was or what they were saying. Then, she claimed that an arm reached out the door, grabbed Catherine by the hair, and pulled her inside. Later, another neighbor said that Catherine told Colin he was hurting her and begged him to let her go. Unfortunately, he ignored her, and after that, nobody heard a peep from the house for more than an hour. But at 6:15 p.m., Colin picked up the phone and called 911, just like he had done almost 2 years earlier in Stroud, Oklahoma.
1814 911. What's the address of the emergency? Hampton in Florida. I don't know the fucking. I don't know the city address. My mom is talking to EMS now. She's bleeding out. Please help. Your mom is doing what? My mom's bleeding out. She's bleeding out. Okay. She's bleeding out. Where is she bleeding from, sir? She's bleeding from the neck, man. This is my mother. I'm trying to detect it. Are you with the patient now? I'm with her. Yes, I'm with her now. How old is the patient? She's 39 years old. She has a heart condition. She has a. Is she awake? No, she's unconscious. She's not okay. Is she breathing? No, she's not. Solution, what caused the bleeding? Solution, what caused the bleeding? She got real tight and we weren't getting the knife and she fell on it.
The operator told Colin to apply pressure to the wound and gave him step-by-step instructions on how to perform CPR. We'll never know if he actually tried to help his mother, but he was standing outside of the mobile home covered in blood when Polk County Sheriff's deputies arrived shortly thereafter. When they asked him what happened, he informed them that he wasn't going to say anything until he talked to an attorney. Inside, the deputies found 39-year-old Catherine Griffith lying on the floor next to a bloody 12-inch knife. The deputies weren't sure how things played out that evening, but Catherine's wounds were so gruesome that the veins, arteries, and tendons and muscles in her neck were clearly visible. But as horrific as the scene in the kitchen was, the rest of the house was almost entirely undisturbed. EMTs arrived a few minutes later and immediately pronounced Catherine Griffith dead at the scene. Investigators already knew that Colin killed his father in Oklahoma in 2023 and that the state ultimately dropped all the charges against him. Needless to say, it was a huge red flag when he was involved in his mother's death just a few years later. The medical examiner ruled that the fatal wound to Catherine's neck could not have been caused by a fall, as Colin had tried to claim when he called 911 on the day of her death. With a bona fide homicide on their hands, the authorities arrested Colin on Thursday, September 19th of 2024, and they charged him with first-degree murder and kidnapping because the state claimed he forced his mother into the home against her will before stabbing her to death. Colin was tried as an adult, even though he was only 17 years old at the time of his mother's death. Before the trial, Circuit Judge J. Kevin Abdeny ruled that the prosecution could tell jurors that Colin had shot and killed someone in Oklahoma on Valentine's Day of 2023. However, he prohibited them from revealing the victim was his father on the grounds that it would be prejudicial. During opening statements in early February of 2025, the defense told the jury that Catherine attacked Colin that day and that he acted in self-defense, and that the jury couldn't convict him of kidnapping because the state couldn't prove that he forced her inside the home against her will. On the other hand, the prosecution argued that Colin forced Catherine into the house, murdered her with a kitchen knife, and that her death was the tragic end to a clear pattern of violence and abusive behavior that began years before. Polk County Fire Rescue Captain James Parker testified about what he saw at Miss Detman's home the day of Catherine's death.
Did you enter the residence to see the victim?
Yes, sir. Describe
to the jury what you saw.
We entered through the front door, went through the living room area, back into the kitchen, at which point they were escorting the accused out of the residence. The victim herself was laying on the kitchen floor, supine, and with a pool of blood.
What does supine mean?
On her back.
Now, did she have any signs of life whatsoever?
No, sir.
The pale color, what is that indicative of?
Typically of blood loss or poor circulation.
Is she checked for a pulse and her vitals and whatnot?
Yes, sir. Per usual, we arrive on scene, check the patient's responsiveness. She was not responsive to which I could then tell she was not breathing. A pulse was checked for and not obtained, as she did not currently have one. CPR was initiated for a brief few seconds until further extended injuries could be checked, and then it was determined among the crew and myself that the injuries were not sustainable.
So, based upon the severity of the stab wounds, was there anything you could further do for her?
No, sir.
Now, what can you tell the jury about what you saw pertaining to the stab wound?
The stab wound itself did not seem to be very wide. It was kind of narrow in size. Upon further inspection after starting the CPR, it was obvious that every time I did a compression, there was air that was coming through the wound itself. So it was obviously pretty deep. It looked like a lot of the vasculature and the stuff inside of the wound itself was very obvious and could be seen. And that they had cut major areas such as the arteries.
Okay. What was the terminology you used? The vascular?
Vasculature, yes, sir.
What does that mean?
Meaning the tissue and stuff surrounding.
So the inside of her neck was apparent. You could actually see what was inside?
Yes, sir. From my personal experience, it was a little odd in nature. He didn't seem very distraught or upset. He seemed kind of calm upon my entering the residence. And then upon exiting the residence, he seemed to almost have a, not a full argument, but somewhat argumentative with the deputies that were trying to assist him out of the residence.
Later, Catherine's mother and Colin's grandmother, Susan Detman, testified for the defense.
Do you remember there being a period in January of 2024 where where Colin was with you for several weeks and Kathy didn't remember that he had gone with you?
Yes.
And do you know what was going on with Kathy at that time?
She was taking pills. She just didn't want to have her life. She was drinking excessively. She drank Everclear as her alcoholic choice.
Of threats that Kathy had made to commit suicide.
Yes.
How many are you aware of, if you know?
I'm aware of 5.
Okay.
No, 6.
Have you actually called law enforcement on occasion when Kathy made statements to you?
Yes.
All right, so you said you know of about 6 threats. What about actual attempts by Kathy to, or was that the 6 and I misunderstood?
Those were the 6 attempts.
Okay. Can you describe some of those for the jury?
Yes. So the first one was, she was still married, and she was very upset, and she had overdosed on her trazodone, and she told me, I was in Key Largo, and she lived in Key Largo at the time. And I said, I'm going to have to take you in right now to emergency room. You're going to die. And she said, no, I'm not going in. She was in her bed, all dressed in black, and with a revolver in her hand.
And had she done anything with any medications that time?
She had overdosed on the oxycodone.
Did she end up going to the hospital that time?
Yes.
Shortly thereafter, Colin's grandfather, Robert Willantis, painted his grandson in a far less than favorable light.
All right, now, Mr. Willantis, when the defendant moved back to Florida to live with Kathy, was Kathy happy about that?
She was thrilled.
Now, during the time period when, since then, when he moved back to Florida and lived with her, did she try to make up for lost time?
She did.
And what were some of the activities that she and your grandson would do?
They had to catch up on 3 years of school. Colin was 3 years behind. And then they also caught up on the 4th year. So he got 4 years of education done in a single year. That's a huge accomplishment. They went to Australia, Central America, the Caribbean.
Now, tell briefly to the jury about your relationship with your grandson. Did you have a relationship with the defendant?
We would talk on the phone, but I'm not a helicopter parent. I was there to support him and to support Kathy and to love them and be there for them.
Based upon your personal observations, did it appear that the defendant trusted you and would talk to you and confide in you about certain things, grandfather, grandson topics?
Yes.
Did there come a time when the defendant said something to you that was very disturbing to you?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what the defendant said to you.
My grandson was very aggravated at his grandmother and his mother. He said, "I am so tired of these two bitches. I'm disgusted." He said, "My mom, I keep thinking over and over, I want to slit her throat. I want her to bleed out. I want to smell the blood. I want to feel the blood. I want to feel the life and the blood leaving her body."
What did you say to him in response?
I said, "Colin, I love you, buddy, but you can't have those kinds of thoughts and focus on them and then speak them, because you will cause them to become reality. Please think positive things about your mom, about yourself, and about a good future together."
Charlotte County Juvenile Detective Lacey Zenoniani's testimony was particularly poignant and more than a little shocking.
How did you come into contact with the defendant, Colin Griffith?
I came into contact with the defendant after the initial incident that occurred. It was forwarded to me for intervention purposes.
And what were your goals then when you got involved in the defendant's life?
Our goals were to implement intervention and work with the family to assist them with resources and guide them to a successful pathway.
Would you have interaction with not only the defendant but also his mom, Kathy Griffith?
Yes.
Did the defendant ever make statements to you or in your presence that concern you about the violence he wanted to inflict upon his mom?
Yes.
And what do you remember him saying?
I don't recall specifics, but there were comments that if he returned home or back into the residence with his mom, that he wouldn't be able to control what had happened or that he would harm her.
When you say he wouldn't be able to control what would happen, do you mean how he would act?
Yes.
Did he say anything more than harm her? In terms of, did he say he would hurt her or kill her or anything specific?
There were comments that he would kill her.
And did he say to you or in your presence on more than one occasion that he would kill her?
Yes.
Did it appear that he would get angry when mom would try to take away his video games and cell phone and things of that nature?
Yes.
Was that a reoccurring source of discontent on the defendant's part?
Yes.
Whatever flaws Kathy might have had, was she trying to be a good mom?
I believe at the time she was doing her best, yes.
From your observations over that many-month period, did the defendant have respect for his mom and her rules?
No.
And you're also aware that Kathy had been arrested before?
Yes.
Specifically for an incident that involved her stabbing her then-husband in front of 10-year-old Colin?
Yes.
And also, there were other incidences where Kathy committed violence upon her then-husband in front of the children.
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware of the car pinning incident, which I call
Yes.
it, where she drives her car and pins her then-husband to the house with her car still running. He can't escape, right?
Yes.
Do you think it was a good idea for Colin and Kathy to live together?
We did everything we could as far as intervention purposes, working alongside of our mental health unit and with DCF, and that was the decision that was made.
Who made it?
DCF returned him back to his home. We had resources we could implement in the time being to help guide them. I can't speak on who made it specifically.
No, but your personal opinion?
I'm confident that we did everything we could. I don't know that I feel comfortable giving my personal opinion.
If it had been your decision, you would not have allowed them to live together, correct? Correct. For both of their safety?
Yes.
Including Colin's safety from what Kathy might do to him?
Both.
Yes.
Then, after just a week of testimony, the prosecution and defense delivered their closing arguments.
Ladies and gentlemen, the brutality and the carnage that Colin Griffith unloaded on his mom on September 8th of 2024 is as real as it gets. The defendant sits there, a guilty person who stabbed his own mother in the neck and then watched her bleed out in front of him. The lady that brought him into this world here on earth, he took out of this world and this earth. The reality of what that person did to his mom is a second-by-second nightmare for her. She left this world knowing that the person that took her out was the son that she gave everything to.
These were all adults with their own lives. Colin, who also clearly wanted to separate himself from his mother, was still a kid without the agency or the autonomy to really sever any connection with her. Right? He's telling people, I don't feel safe, I don't want to go back with my mom, and yet they kept making him do that. The state has offered no proof, zero proof of what actually happened in Susan's house on September 8th. None. Zero proof does not equal proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But isn't it reasonable to believe that Kathy, in her anger, her desperation to make Colin come home, that she picked up a knife and threatened him with it? Isn't it also reasonable that Kathy knew what the outcome was going to be when she picked up a knife and threatened Colin with it? You've heard of by cop? Isn't it reasonable to think that Kathy committed by son?
In the end, the jury deliberated approximately 12 hours before informing the judge they had reached a unanimous decision.
As to count 2, the defendant is not guilty. So say will this 5th day of February, 2025.
Does the state wish to have the jury polled?
No, Your Honor.
You may be seated.
After the verdict was read, Colin turned toward the gallery and exchanged smiles with a number of family members who had been present throughout the trial. Colin was released from custody later that day, but it's unclear who he will stay with until he turns 18. We would like to express our sincere condolences to the victims' families for their losses.